This is Everyday Tension. Real stories based on real experiences about everyday conflicts people rarely talk about. This story was shared anonymously. If you'd like, you can support the channel by liking or subscribing and let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Here's what happened.
It started, I guess, with the steaks. That's how I first really understood the difference between his family and me. My husband Mark isn't a big steak guy himself. He'll eat it if it's there, but he doesn't crave it. His mom, Barbara, is a different story. The first time I met her, 3 years ago, she took us out to a steakhouse, a fancy one, with dark wood and leather menus. She ordered the most expensive cut on the menu, a ribeye, and when it came, she spent a good minute just looking at it, smiling. Then she cut into it, and the juice pooled on the plate. She saw me pushing my pasta around and said, "You're not eating red meat?" I told her I was vegan. She put her fork down. "You don't eat any meat?" I said no. "Chicken? Fish? No. Butter? Eggs? No." She looked at me like I just told her I didn't believe in gravity. She shook her head, picked up her fork again, and said, "Well, more for me," and laughed. It wasn't a mean laugh. It was just a fact. Her world had meat in it, and mine didn't. And that was that. I've been vegan for 8 years. It's not a phase or a diet. It's just how I live. I don't lecture people. At work, if they order pizza for a meeting, I'll just have the salad. If friends want to go to a barbecue place, I'll go and eat fries and a side salad. It's fine. My house, though, is my space. My kitchen is my space. I don't want the smell of meat in my curtains. I don't want the grease on my pans. I don't want to clean a pan that had a steak in it. It's a personal line. Mark gets it. He eats meat when we're out, but at home, he eats what I cook. He says he doesn't mind. He says my cooking is good. I think he just likes that one of us knows how to cook. When Barbara's visit was planned, I felt that low-level dread you get when you know you're going to be uncomfortable in your own home for a week. Mark was excited. He's close with his mom. He talks to her on the phone every Sunday. I wanted it to go okay. I really did. So the week before she flew in, I called her. I wanted to set the expectation clearly, so there wouldn't be any confusion. I said, "Barbara, I'm really looking forward to you visiting. I just want to let you know about the kitchen. I don't cook meat in it, and I don't allow it to be cooked it. It's a rule I have. But when we go out, you can order absolutely anything you want. My treat, even. I just need the house to stay meat-free." There was a silence on the line. Then she laughed. It was a short, airy laugh. "Oh, honey," she said, "we'll see about that." I paused. "No, really," I said. "It's important to me." "I heard you," she said, but her tone was the same as when Mark tells her he's too busy to talk, and she says, "I heard you, but you know she's going to call back in an hour. It'll be fine." "Don't you worry." I told Mark about the call. He was in the living room looking at his phone. He shrugged without looking up. "She's just like that. She doesn't mean anything by it." She said, "We'll see about that," I said. "That sounds like she means something by it." He finally looked at me. "She's my mum. She's set in her ways. Just be polite. It's only a week." I felt like I was being set up to be the difficult one. Like my very clear, very simple rule was going to be the problem. Not her ignoring it. I let it go. What else could I do? She arrived on a Sunday afternoon. She hugged Mark for a long time. She gave me a quick, one-armed hug. "The house looks nice," she said, though her eyes scanned the living room, like she was looking for something to critique. "It's very neat." I took her suitcase to the guest room. When I came back, she was already in the kitchen. She had opened the fridge and was leaning in, looking. "My goodness," she said. "It's so green in here. It was just lettuce, kale, some broccoli, normal food." I felt my face get hot. "Can I get you something to drink?" I asked. The first night, I made a lasagna, vegan, with cashew ricotta and lentils. "It's good. Mark likes it." Barbara took a bite and chewed thoughtfully. "It's interesting," she said. "What's in the cheese?" I told her. She nodded. "It's not cheese, then." She ate about half of her piece. Later, after she'd gone to bed, I saw her plate in the sink. She'd scraped the rest into the trash. I felt a loud pinch in my chest. It was stupid to care, but I'd spent 2 hours making that. Monday, I went to work. I'm a graphic designer. I work from home 2 days a week, but I went into the office that day partly because I had a meeting and partly because I thought it would be easier. Give them some time alone. When I got home around 6, the house smelled different. Not bad, just different. Buttery, rich. Barbara was at the table reading a magazine. Mark was on the couch. "How was your day?" I asked. "Good," Barbara said, not looking up. "We went out for lunch. I went into the kitchen to start dinner. My favorite saucepan was in the drying rack. It was clean, but it had a faint, greasy film on it. I picked it up. I sniffed it. Butter. Definitely butter. And something else. Something faintly seafood-like. I put the pan down. I walked back into the living room. "Did you cook something here today?" I asked. Barbara looked up. "Oh, just a little shrimp scampi for lunch." I was peckish. Mark had some too. I looked at Mark. He was staring intently at the TV. "You used my pan?" I said. "I washed it," Barbara said, smiling. "Sparkling." "I asked you not to cook meat or animal products in the house," I said. My voice was tight. "Shrimp isn't meat, honey," she said, laughing. "It's seafood." "It's an animal," I said. "It's against the rule." She waved her hand. "It was just a little butter and shrimp. The house didn't fall down." Mark finally spoke. "It's fine." She washed the pan. "It's not a big deal." I stood there for a second. They were both looking at me now. Barbara with a faint, challenging smile. Mark with a "please don't make a scene" look. I turned around and went back into the kitchen. I took the pan from the rack. I opened the cupboard under the sink where I keep the spare scrubbers and cleaners. I put the pan in there and closed the door. I wouldn't use it again. I'd have to buy a new one. I stood at the sink for a minute, my hands on the counter, just breathing. That night, I talked to Mark in our bedroom, with the door closed. "She can't do that again," I said. She completely ignored what I asked. He was taking off his watch. "She thinks it's silly. And honestly, it kind of is. It's a pan. It got washed. It's not about the pan," I said, keeping my voice down. "It's about her doing whatever she wants in my house after I specifically asked her not to. She's disrespecting me. She's not disrespecting you. She's just eating. It's how she is. How you just let it go for a few days." I looked at him. He looked tired. I felt tired. "No," I said, quietly. "I can't." He sighed, a long, heavy sigh. "Fine, I'll talk to her tomorrow." I didn't hear the talk. I made sure to be in the shower when I thought it might be happening. At breakfast, Barbara was quiet. She had toast. I'd made avocado toast for everyone. She picked at it. The air was thick. Mark was extra cheerful, talking about the weather. I went to work feeling uneasy. I had a bad feeling. I came home on Tuesday around 5:30. I opened the front door and the smell hit me immediately. It was smoke, salty, fatty. Marcus Rosé for 3 years? I asked. It was a smell I knew well from 1,000 diners and breakfast places I'd walked past. Bacon. My stomach tightened. I walked slowly to the kitchen. She was standing at the stove. My stove. Her back was to me. She was using my favorite cast iron skillet, the one I only use for vegetables and tofu because it's so well seasoned. She had my wooden spoon in her hand. She was poking at the strips of bacon curling and sizzling in the pan. The fan was on, but it wasn't doing much. The smell was everywhere. I must have made a sound, or she felt me there. She turned around. She didn't look startled. She looked calm. "Oh, hi," she said. "You're home early." I didn't say anything. I just looked at the pan. She turned back to it. "I got a craving. You had this nice skillet. Makes it nice and crispy." I found my voice. It came out flat. "I explicitly ask you not to cook meat here." She didn't turn around. "It's just breakfast for dinner. A little treat. Don't be so sensitive about it." She said it like she was talking to a child who was upset over a broken crayon. Something in me just clicked off. The anxiety, the frustration, the desire to keep the peace, it all drained away. I felt very cold and very clear. I walked over to her. I turned the burner off. I reached for the handle of the skillet. It was hot, but I had an oven mitt hanging on the handle of the oven. I put it on and took the handle. "Hey," she said, stepping back. I didn't look at her. I carried the skillet to the trash can. I used the wooden spoon she'd been using to scoop the bacon out of the pan. 4 strips. They landed in the trash with a soft thud on top of a coffee filter and some eggshells. I put the skillet in the sink. I turned on the cold water. It hissed on the hot metal. I finally looked at her. She was staring at me, her mouth slightly open. She looked shocked, actually shocked, like it had never occurred to her that I would actually do anything. "If you cannot possibly respect my home," I said, my voice still eerily calm, "there is a comfortable hotel 5 minutes away. I can give you the number." She didn't say a word. She turned and walked out of the kitchen. I heard her go down the hall to the guest room. I stood at the sink, the water running over the ruined skillet. I felt shaky now. My hands were trembling. Mark came home 20 minutes later. He came into the kitchen. "What's going on?" "Mom's in her room packing." I told him. She was cooking bacon. In my pan. After everything. I threw it out and told her she could go to a hotel. His face went through changes. Confusion, annoyance, then anger. "You threw out her food?" "Yes. And you told her to leave." "I told her there was a hotel if she couldn't respect my rule." "She's my mother," he said, his voice rising. "She's visiting. You couldn't just look the other way for 1 more minute?" "No," I said. "I couldn't." He shook his head, a hard, disgusted shake. Unbelievable. He went down the hall. I heard murmuring from the guest room, then the sound of a suitcase zipper, then wheels on the hardwood floor. Barbara came out, her suitcase behind her. She didn't look at me. Mark had his coat on. "I'm drying her to the Marriott," he said. He didn't look at me either. "Okay," I said. They left. The house was very quiet. I could still smell the bacon. I opened all the windows, even though it was cold. I took the trash bag out and tied it up and put it in the outside bin. I scrubbed the skillet with soap and salt, scrubbed until my arms ached, but I knew I'd never use it again. Mark came back an hour later. He went straight to the fridge and got a beer. He sat at the kitchen table. I was still there, wiping down counters that were already clean. "She's upset," he said. "I'm upset," I said. "You humiliated her," he said. "You made her feel unwelcome in her own son's house." It's my house too, I said. And she was unwelcome to break my rule. I stated it clearly. She chose to break it. It's a stupid rule, he shouted, slamming his hand on the table. The beer bottle jumped. It's just food. You care more about your kitchen being vegan than you do about my family. That stung. It stung a lot. I care about being respected in my own home, I said, my voice cracking. Why is that so hard for everyone to understand? He didn't answer. He drank his beer. We didn't talk the rest of the night. The next day, his sister called. I didn't answer. She texted Mark, and he was on the phone with her for a long time in the bedroom with the door closed. I got a text from an unknown number later. It was his aunt. It said, "Family is more important than pride. What you did was cruel." I showed it to Mark. He read it and handed my phone back. "Well?" I said. "What do you want me to do about it?" He said, "They're her family. They're going to take her side. Are you taking her side?" I asked. He didn't answer for a long time. He just looked out the window. "I think you could have handled it differently," he said finally. I think he wanted a confrontation. That felt like a punch. I didn't want a confrontation. I just wanted my rule to be followed. But maybe, in his eyes, those were the same thing. Barbara stayed at the hotel for the rest of the week. Mark had dinner with her every night. I didn't go. He asked me once, on the Thursday, if I wanted to come, to smooth things over. I asked if she was going to apologize. He said she didn't think she had anything to apologize for. I said then I had nothing to smooth over. He went alone. She flew home on Sunday. Mark drove her to the airport. I stayed home. When he came back, he was quiet for days. The house was quiet. We moved around each other like ghosts. We hadn't really fought before. Not like this. This was a cold, heavy silence. That was a month ago. Things are not the same. Mark talks to his mum on Sundays again, but he leaves the room to do it. He's not openly mad all the time anymore. He's just distant. He feels far away. His family, the few times I've seen them at larger gatherings, are polite, but cold. They ask how I am, but their eyes are flat. I hear the phrase "chose food over family" floated around. I heard his sister say it under her breath at a birthday party last week. Mark heard it too. He didn't say anything to her. Sometimes I lie awake at night and run through it all. Did I overreact? Was it just bacon? Was my rule more important than a week of peace? Maybe. But then I think about her laugh on the phone. We'll see about that. I think about her using my pan for shrimp after I'd asked her not to. I think about her standing at my stove, so confident, so sure I wouldn't do anything. And I think about the feeling of that hot skillet handle in my hand, the certainty I felt in that moment. It felt like the only thing I could do. But now, I look at Mark reading on the couch, not looking at me. I think about the silence at dinner. I think about the fact that I still haven't bought a new skillet. I just can't bring myself to do it. The space in the cupboard is empty. My kitchen feels different. My house feels different. I stood my ground. I know I did. But the ground feels shaky now. And I keep wondering if the cost of standing on it was something I didn't fully understand until it was already done.